Hello, Medicine, Hikime Morikotes, and welcome to the Grotesqueresque top 10. I don't know, like my top stories, my favorite stories from Grotesqueresque, the AV DOSSOW indie game. Before I begin, obviously, this video is going to contain some kind of spoilers. So if you want to play the game first, or you want to go and watch the videos first, I recommend doing that. Second, I have to obviously mention that this is just my opinion. I like all the stories, but obviously, I'm going to like some more than others. So if you like a story more and you have a reasoning, please let me know in the comments if you think that story is better than the other one or stuff like that, right? Well, let's begin. Number 10, Fat Pony Apotheiois. This is obviously my less favorite story in the sense that it's not horror, right? It's comedy and it checks out with other games and the sense of humor of this developer, right? Again, it's not a bad segment of the game. It's not a bad story, but it's a little bit silly, and I do enjoy a little bit more of like horror and mystery. I did like the design of Beelzebub, and I like the silly pony story, the pizza ending, the other ending, all really good, right? But I think that like for me, this will be the less amazing of the stories. Number 9. Next up is the Ratuni show. So I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of flame for this one because I feel like this story it's gonna be liked by a lot of people. It's a really good story, but I personally I'm not that afraid of like the Ratuni, right? I'm not talking about the guy dressed as Ratuni, or like I'm talking about the Ratuni. Actually, I was more afraid, or like to me it was more scary the guy. What's the name? The producer, right? Without the Ratuni costume, right? It was John, I think it was the name of the executive, with the smile face and the red eyes and everything. Was like, this guy's gonna jump and kill me any given moment. But at the end, you get it was, to me it was a pretty obvious plot twist. The Ratuni and then the real monster. And like I really like about this story the part of the this is my friend the tumor, and I was like, what the fuck? That's so fucked up, right? I think that was an incredible part of the game and the story. But otherwise, I don't find the Ratuni, and I didn't like that it kills you anyway. Like usually when you find these like creatures, you have like a way of going out, right? Like of escaping, right? If you find like Kuchisake-on or something like that, you can tell her something to not be killed, but in this case you die anyway, so I didn't like that much. Number 8. Ningen and Me. To be honest, I wasn't sure I was about to put this story on last place, or like before the pony story anyway, because I didn't quite... I like the concept, but I don't think I think it's also a silly story, right? Kind of like the pony. It's a little bit less silly than the pony, but like I was hugely disappointed by the fact that 3 of the 4 endings are the same thing, and I absolutely love getting blasted by the Ningen, right? But it's just like I was expecting like, oh, I'm in love with you, and something silly like in the Alessa games when you get like to marry the monster and you get like silly monster wife version of the character. That would have been great. I do like the art of the character Rosemary. I think that's one of the best arts in the game. And I like the general like, oh, I'm waiting for the monster to appear. I'm waiting for the monster to appear. It finally appears. What do you do when it appears? That's really cool, right? But I think I don't think, all things considered, there's a lot to this story. Number 7, Bent Diver Wait. Now for this story, I really wanted to like this more because I love the concept. I think getting trapped in a vent, it's really, really scary. I really like the gameplay a lot. I really like the character. There's that mystery going. Like, I couldn't quite solve the mystery. I know there's someone missing that doesn't open their apartment. The smell of someone's dead. There's a monster that kills me. Yeah, I get that much. The story was really, really interesting, but I think this is one of the stories that maybe suffered of being part of a horror anthology, right? Because you don't have a lot of time or a lot of moments to explain what's happening. In some way, I think that's better because over-explaining this might remove the horror from it, but like leaving things open, it's actually really nice too. But again, I don't like that in both endings the monster just kills you and you don't know what happened to Wade. We don't even get to know if Wade is a good or bad person, right? We know he's smelly and no one likes him, but he might be a good person, right? So I don't know how I feel about him dying about like the way he did. And yeah, I think there might have been something that could be done with crawling into the vent gameplay. I really don't know why in this moment, but there might be something else that could have been done. But overall, I think it's a solid game. Number 6, Forest Stroll. This one it's really interesting, right? Because it's one of the first stories, and I think like when you put stories first in a horror anthology, you need to put at least like the strongest ones first, right? Which I think it was not that much the case with Forest Stroll. It's a pretty straightforward game. I was really liking it, but I didn't really like the monster, right? The monster was just mostly a floating head PNG, and I think I personally have played hundreds of indie games with horror monsters, and I have seen that before so many times that, at least to me, it doesn't feel like anything anymore, right? I do like the chase scene. I do like that you have to keep running, and eventually you escape. But then again, it's the case of another monster that even if you manage to escape the monster, it just makes you go mad, which is actually, it checks out, right? It's a really horrible experience. And I think if you really get into the character, you know, this woman walking into the forest with just a light, and you get trapped and there's a voice talking to you, it gets really spooky. But as a game segment, I didn't find it too appealing compared to the other ones, obviously. Number 5, Beauty. Now, Beauty, it's a really interesting one because I feel like this is the specific story that I don't think it needed multiple endings. I like the ending when she goes through with the surgery and horrible things happen to her, because let's be honest, in real life, that's what will happen. You know, this is a very real character, and I think that's something I really like about this story. It's like the character feels real, like people do this all the time. This is something that happens in real life all the time, and that makes it all the more spooky, right? Obviously, the whole segment of the screams, and I feel like it drags a little bit too long, just a little bit, but it's actually like your mind runs wild with everything you're thinking about what's happening, right? You know, the drilling, the removing, the screams, it's all really good. I feel like it didn't need the other ending where you just go away. The nurse is very spooky. The other doctors, quote unquote, I don't think those were real doctors, but they are also really spooky. And I quite like this one, so that's why it's really high on this list. Number 4, the Peephole. Okay, so I think the Peephole has had a really hard job to do, and it's in a horror anthology. It's the final story. It's the closing act. It's something that it's really hard to nail, right? You have the responsibility of closing all these really cool stories into the final one. I think the people nail it. The basic gameplay of it's turning on the lights or turning them off. There's a lot other things to do, right? But doesn't matter that much for the purpose of the gameplay. And obviously looking through the people, right? That's the main thing you have to do. I did find the monster not that spooky compared to other ones in this series, but obviously it's just like a shadow entity, right? And obviously he doesn't like the lights. You have to keep the lights on, don't turn them off. But I do like the psychological factor of this game, right? Like hearing the news, just being unable to sleep. You don't know what's happening. You don't want to go out because it's quote unquote dangerous outside, but it's being dangerous inside now. And maybe the thing that was dangerous was inside all along. It's a really cool thing to do, right? And I do like that the final when they kill you and it shows all these different monsters of the game. That was a really nice touch. Number 3, the farmer. So I was really close to putting the farmer in the first place because I think this is like by far the strongest story in this game. There's obviously this you have to collect apples, and I actually really like the style of the game. I like how the character looks. I like how the character moves. It all seems really uncanny, right? And you're doing something really uncanny. You're like collecting apples. You don't know what's going to happen when you collect the 100 apples. And when you do, well, the monster appears. It killed me the first time, but I managed to, replay the game and see the true ending. The true ending, I think if you just play this and die to the monster, it doesn't make any sense. And that's something that I have to take into account. Like, if you just die to the monster, you don't really see what's happening. But if you collect all the apples and you escape the monster and you go into the basement and you see all these other things that are happening and you see this, I'm still not sure if those are apples, like infinite apples or like infinite hearts. I don't know if the demons are stupid or it's the game telling me I was collecting like human hearts all along. I don't know. Either of those options are really scary because like I'm afraid of a monster that doesn't know how a human heart looks like. they don't know anything about humans, right? But on the other hand, seeing a farmer collecting 100 human hearts all along the farm that grow every day again, that's a more uncanny thing to think about, right? And I think it gets a happy ending, which is obviously it's not a happy ending because of what you did, but it's kind of happy ending. I mean, if they are just apples, it's a happy ending. He got his family back. There doesn't seem to be any drawback that I can see. So it's rare to see a horror game with a happy ending, and that's what I really like about The Farmer. Number 2, A Friend Outside the Window. Now, A Friend Outside the Window had another really hard job to do in an anthology, which is being the opening story. It needs to be really, really strong, and I think it is. I think, like, the first moment I played this, I was like, oh my god, if the rest of the stories are anything like this, this is gonna be a great game. And it was, right? Like, all the stories are strong, but I think this one, it's really, really strong. It's someone suffering from insomnia, which is connected to the last story too. Then you have to close your eyes, you have to open them, you're looking at a window. I think that by itself, without any monsters, it's just pretty scary. Just try to do it in your house. Just go sit in the middle of the night in front of an open window and open and close your eyes at random intervals. And it's spooky, right? It's something naturally spooky. Your brain starts working. It's like, oh no, something's gonna happen. And then you have to find the monster in your head. You have to listen, like, let's go play, open your eyes. And then you have to resist. I didn't resist, and I got my eyes gouged out the first time, which I think this one has one of the coolest, like, death animations too, right? And I was about to put this one in first place too, but there's, another story that I did like a bit more. Number 1, Sepsis. I think this is a story that it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it left a really strong impression on me. I really, really like the story. I think this is a main character we usually don't see, which is an older woman, right? Like a fatty older woman, Yeah, she has big titties and everything, but like she looks older and sad, right? She looks really, really sad. We understand why at the end of the game, right? Then we have these monsters that doesn't make a lot of sense at the beginning of the game, but at the end of the game, when you get the other ending, the ending when you go up the stairs, everything makes sense, and it's just so awesome to see something like you die, and then after you die, everything makes sense, right? Like all these monsters, the water, you get told at the beginning of the game, oh, maybe the water is already full of like germs and everything, and I'm just gonna get sepsis because I'm gonna get hurt, right? The monster things that are on the floor, which we know there are not monsters, there's people before me that did the same thing, are really, really terrifying. And I like these games because the true ending, which is when you go downstairs, I'm gonna take that as the true ending, it explains everything and it makes a lot of sense, and then she goes through with it, which is, it really surprised me, right? She really, really wanted to have a son again, and who knows what horror she unleashed in the world. But also the other ending, it's also amazing, right? So it's weird to see a game where both endings are really, really good and both end in tragedy also. So I really like this one, and the gameplay, the labyrinths, I think one labyrinth was enough. I think like 2 labyrinths, maybe it was too much. Maybe it was to pad the gameplay a little bit, I don't know. But the general aesthetic of like just, being trapped in this underworld place, like, you don't know what's happening, there's a bunch of mushrooms there, it's water. You don't even know what you're there, but then after the endings, you know what you're there. It's hard for me to explain, but I think that's good horror. Like when you cannot explain why you like it so much, I think that's a sign that it's good horror, right? And well, yeah, that will be my number 1 game. If you guys want to tell me my number 1 story of this game, I mean, if you guys want to tell me what is your number 1 story for this game, please let me know in the comments. I want to hear different perspectives for, It's not that I'm wrong and you're right, it doesn't really matter, it's just about preferences, but I like to hear about other people's opinions on this game. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next indie game stream or whatever I decide to do with this channel. I'll see you later.